What is up, Beefcakes? It's the Beefcake Supreme Force with another video, as you requested. No one requested this video. 2023 has been a pretty crazy year for movies. It's just been amazing. 2019 was the last great year for movies. 2020, 2021, it was a disaster. It was an absolute disaster. This is the year that we asked for, that we've deserved. So let's just get into it. Just kidding. I'm not going to get right into it. I'm going to give you my honorable mentions. Napoleon. Very funny. Great action scenes. Asteroid City. Just barely outside my list. Air by Ben Affleck. It's a breeze. It's a nice dad movie. It's a breezy watch. It's something you can turn on, eat your lunch. Fair Play. Passages. And then we're going to put May December as my last one. It didn't make it, but I found it to be very interesting. And one more thing before we get into the top 10 list, I'm going to give you 3 movies I haven't seen that I probably should have, but they just weren't available to me, so I didn't get to see them. Past Lives, All of Us Strangers, and The Zone of Interest. For number 10, I'm going to go with The Killer, directed by David Fincher, starring Michael Fassbender. Now, this movie is about an assassin who messes up on the job and has to travel the world to basically avenge his girlfriend. This movie was very shocking, I think, to a lot of people, or at least very surprising with where it would go. Me, for instance, I thought this movie would be almost David Fincher's John Wick, but as it turns out, it's almost more his American Psycho. I thought the movie was pretty funny. I like the sense of humor. Michael Fassbender is very good in the movie. I think the direction is very slick, though since it seems to be a little more of those the style is the substance kind of movies, I sort of wish that the movie was a little more stylish, a little more ambitious. For number 9, we're going to go with a lot of people's number 1, which is Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer. This movie is about Robert Oppenheimer, played brilliantly by Cillian Murphy, who invents the atom bomb. He invents the atom bomb for the U.S. military during World War II because they were scared of the Nazis. We're going to do it. And then as it turns out, the U.S. bombed Japan. And then Oppenheimer's like, what? What's going on here? Yeah, the movie's very ambitious. It's very crazy. There's a lot of talking, and it's 3 hours long, yet it feels almost like an action movie. It's quite a thrill. It's very dense. I actually saw it twice because I just needed to wrap my mind around what was going on. The cinematography is great. The performances are great. The cast is humongous. I think Christopher Nolan is pretty brave for taking such risks in terms of doing so many things that he has never done in his filmography. I feel like this movie doesn't really make any bold statements or says anything particularly interesting. They kind of present something very interesting in a very cinematic way. And while I appreciate that, it doesn't really provoke anything out of me. For number 8, I'm going with The Holdovers, directed by Alexander Payne, starring Paul Giamatti. This movie I thought was really good. I thought Paul Giamatti is absolutely amazing. I also really like Alexander Payne. Sideways is one of my favorite movies. It's a total comfort movie for me. I've seen that movie. I've probably logged that movie more than any other movie on Letterboxd. This movie wasn't like amazing or anything. It's just trying to be, it knows what it is. It's committing to what that is, which is just a comforting, cathartic little film, a seasonal kind of film for the winter, for Christmas, Thanksgiving even. Da'Vine Joy Randolph also is absolutely amazing. She's definitely going to win an Oscar for her performance, and it's very much deserved. I don't know if Paul Giamatti will win it, but he should. For number 7, we're going to go with Greta Gerwig's Barbie. This movie, it's pretty great time. I could definitely see myself rewatching this in the future. It is a lot of fun, nice social commentary, and the performances are just fantastic. Ryan Gosling is obviously great. I thought Margot Robbie was absolutely amazing in the movie. I will say that the ending of the movie was not like my favorite thing ever, but it's so funny, it's so charming, it's so colorful. Songs, dance. It's even though it's a commercial, it's I like it. I can't help but to be charmed by the movie. Number 6, we're going to go with Anatomy of a Fall. This was directed by Justine Treat, I believe is how her name is pronounced. And it is about this woman whose husband falls off of a house and dies. There's an investigation, and they're wondering if maybe she did it or not. And we don't know. And we see the investigation, we see her go to court, and we see this sort of objectification of her failing marriage and her relationship with her son. It's such an amazing film in juxtaposition. It reminded me very much of Decision to Leave, which also involves an investigation of someone falling to their death. Sandra Hüller, who's also in The Zone of Interest, which I haven't seen, she's absolutely amazing. She's just absolutely incredible. And the kid who plays her son, he's not going to get nominated for an Oscar. In fact, he's probably not going to win any awards. And that's ageism, because he deserves all of that. This kid was crazy good. For number 5, we're going to go with a Canadian film that came out earlier this year, or earlier in 2023, which was Blackberry, starring Glenn Howerton and featuring and directed by Matt Johnson. It's riveting. It's really the presentation of this film that makes it amazing. While the writing is great, the story is actually very interesting. It's the filmmaking. It's the kinetic energy. It's Matt Johnson's style. It's the performances. It's the music. Absolutely fantastic. And there have been a lot of product movies. There's been one for Tetris. There's been one for Cheetos. There's been one for pinballs. I haven't seen them, and I don't really care for seeing them. The Blackberry movie is absolutely fantastic. If you haven't seen it, what are you doing? Go see it. For my number 4, we are going to go with Sean Durkin's The Iron Claw. This movie is just freaking shocking. I saw this recently. I didn't even know if I wanted to see it, but I was like, you know what? I'm making a list. I have the Beefcake Supreme Force watching. I'm gonna go see it. It's about the Von Erichs, the wrestling family, and it's about toxic masculinity, really. It's about bottling up your emotions. It's about refusing to grieve your losses and to just keep going. And it hurts them. And the fact that they're wrestlers shows that literally happened. I have to admit something to you guys. I'm a psychopath. I don't get emotional. In life, I don't even really remember the last time I cried. But whatever happened, December 2023, I teared up. I admit it, I teared up watching 2 movies. One that's going to come up right afterwards, and The Iron Claw. The last scene of the movie, everybody knows what I'm talking about if you've seen the movie. The last scene is just devastating. I was fighting for my life to not just absolutely losing it in the theater. Actually, when I got in my car to leave the theater, I had to just sit there for a minute. Like, I couldn't just turn the car on. Just fantastic. Go watch it. Zac Efron is amazing. My 3rd favorite film of the year is Michael Mann's Ferrari, starring Adam Driver playing Enzo Ferrari. Now, Michael Mann is one of my favorite filmmakers. He's just one of the GOATs. But for whatever reason, I wasn't like totally anticipating this film. Not that I didn't care, but just I wasn't like crazy about this movie coming out. The movie was out in theaters. I was like, oh, cool. I'll definitely give it a watch. This movie is absolutely amazing. It's about Enzo Ferrari, but it's not like a traditional biopic. We see him during the year 1957. His son has died by this point. His business is screwing up. His marriage, trash. He has a secret mistress and child that his wife doesn't even know about. He has a second family. And he's putting his business on the line for a race in Italy. So much is happening right here. So much is going on. And it's really fascinating, really interesting. As I said earlier, this movie made me emotional. I was tearing up a little bit during the movie. And it wasn't a specific moment that made me tear up, but it was during the scene where Adam Driver goes into a cemetery. His son's cemetery. And, you know, that's a scene that's happened before in movies. People go to funerals in movies. But for whatever reason, it stuck with me. And for a good 10 minutes, I want to say 10 minutes, I was welling up a little bit. Just a fantastic movie. Go see it if you haven't. Number 2 is going to be Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon. This is about the Osage murders in the 1920s. I already reviewed this movie. You can check out my thoughts on that video. I'm just going to say it's one of those movies where it just doesn't leave your mind after you see it. The performances are absolutely amazing. Leonardo DiCaprio gives maybe top 3 best performances. Lily Gladstone is tremendous. She's tremendous. She's amazing. Seriously. Everyone's talking about her. She's winning all the awards. And she needs more, in my opinion. Why stop? Robert De Niro is my favorite actor. I was very happy to see him absolutely crushing it. And Martin Scorsese is my favorite director. He crushed it too. This movie is not just any other Western. It is a tragedy. It is so devastating and it's so unsensational. It shows how close together love and hate is. It's not like there's this line and love is here and hate is here. They're right next to each other. And to see the betrayal, to see the exploitation of those who are supposedly loved. It's the heaviest movie of the year. And in my opinion, maybe the greatest achievement of the year. But it's not my favorite of the year. My favorite movie of the year has to go to Ari Aster's Beau is Afraid. Here's the thing. I could tell you, I could trace the story for you, but I'm not going to do that because I would just confuse myself in the process. This movie is genius, in my opinion. It is a masterpiece. It is a true 10 out of 10 because it completely puts you in the mind of a depressed, anxious person who is still grappling with their past. Something that a lot of people do when they are depressed is that they will look at their past. They will think to themselves, even not depressed, just when you're in a rut, you'll look back on yourself and go, oh, how did I get myself in this situation? How could my parents have raised me better or whatever? How do you make someone care about that in a film? I mean, a character. It's a movie character. It's fiction. Why would I care about somebody's memories? A character's whatever. Well, the way the film is structured is where that really comes in. First of all, the movie starts with 2 things. It starts with a birth and it starts with therapy. It's immediately retrospective on the character. And then we get about a 30-minute sequence where we see him in the moment, in action, getting locked out of his apartment, trying to find a way back in. Very much like the movie After Hours. This makes us care about him now. We're entertained by Beau. We're on his side. We're worried for him. And then the movie takes such a trippy, surreal approach to it. Especially the scene in the forest, which I think may be the most impressive feat of the film. It's just such an ambitious, crazy movie, and I'm so sad that the movie just did not make its money back. So I hope that in the future, people will appreciate this masterpiece for what it is. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what your favorite movies of the year were and what movies you're looking forward to in 2024. See you, Beefcakes.